You're watching Full Tilt Vegas with Richard Delatorre. Full Tilt!
Back here, Go Live, Vegas Studios, in the heart of Las Vegas. Let me see here. Oh, what am I forgetting? I usually talk about something else. I'll talk about my book. I think Art, you're watching out there, Art. So you're going to see me then. If you want to call in, give me a good question, Art. I'm going to be talking about Crapless CRAPS. This is number 70, huh? This show 70. Híjola, what happened to you? Eating all them ice creams. Okay. You can get my book. It's in the book Winning Ways. Amazon, Google. You can download it, get it on your phone. Have it everywhere you go. Give it as gifts. We also sell here coffee mugs or rum cups. Yeah, I got 4 of those so my daughter and son can have coffee in the morning. Let me see. See those there. We got a little truck right here. I don't know what the truck is for. It's not Thanksgiving. Okay, what happened? Autumn. Anyway, yeah, like I said, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe. That way the algorithm will get this out to more people on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Delatorre 360 Entertainment. You want to know anything about blackjack, craps, and roulette, poker, slot machines, Keno. What else we got there? Poker, episode 14, Anthony Curtis, Las Vegas Advisor here. You can look that up. I got poker on 17, episode 17. Horse racing, 7 through 10 on Delatorre 360 Entertainment. You can see that. If you want to learn about horse racing or get into horse racing, I advise you to look at those 4 videos. You're probably not going to get that kind of information from the track or even some of the people who've been playing horses for 30 years. I met guys been playing 20, 30 years that don't even have the knowledge I have in horse racing. Since I was lucky, I sat with Gary. I almost said his last name, Gary, and he was playing horse since he was 12, and then I sat with about 7 other gentlemen. We're all in their, at the time they were in their 70s, all millionaires. Gary was a millionaire. I think they used to call me the kid, and I was sitting with them with my unemployment check. But I sat with them actually Gary for 9 years. I played horses for 9 years, and I picked up so much stuff. These guys had so much knowledge about horses. So I really, I know the show's not about that, but I'm just telling you, if you're really interested in horses, how they run, why they run the way they do, why you won, why you lost, are they going fast, slow, is there a biased track, what kind of medications they get, what kind of equipment they put on them, and why, you need to go to Delatorre 360 Entertainment and watch 7 through 10. And please, a lot of people are watching 7 and they skip over, they go to 9. You need to see all of them. 7, 8, and 9, 10. Okay, let me see. My topic here is Crapless CRAPS. My daughter loves Crapless CRAPS. One thing about Crapless CRAPS, if you find a table, and if you do play, I'm going to tell you what you should be betting. It's almost like craps, except for the 2, 3, 12 on the come out. If you throw that, you don't crap out. That's why it's called Crapless CRAPS, because you don't crap out. Those are 3 of the extra. Well, those numbers are the extra numbers. They do give you 11, but I was going to go through this little thing here about 11. But even if 11 it becomes one of the numbers too. I can say the problem of playing Crapless CRAPS, if you're going to play it, the people that play Crapless CRAPS, they're playing it because they want 2, 3, 11, and 12 as their numbers, and they don't want to crap out. There is no don't. There's no don't or don't come DC. There's none of that on the table. You get a 7 winner, 7 winner, 7 winner. If you get 11, it becomes one of the points. The only way you lose is once you get a point. The only thing you can lose is like the traditional is 7. What goes? Crapless table. It's so sad. What does it say? Wait. What?
Once you hit the crapless table,
Yeah.
so bad, hand is itchy.
You know what? You know what? That's funny. I had a cataract done. Sometimes this eye is clear and this one's blurry. So I kind of see, like, if anybody's seen binoculars, you drop them and you look. Sometimes unless my shirter's down, which is probably up a little bit. But anyway, you want to play so bad? Yeah, the Westgate. The Westgate has Crapless CRAPS. I didn't know that. I found that out yesterday. I usually don't go to their crappy. I go there to play horses. But I just walked over there and I saw both tables open. I said, why are both tables open? And I walk up, I said, Crapless CRAPS. How long you guys had that? And as usual, the dealer there, oh, I don't know, we always had it. No, they haven't always had it. I know for a fact because I used to go there a lot and play craps. What does it say? Anyway, what? Vegas tomorrow. Why don't you download and get my book? It's in the Book Winning Ways. You have it on your phone. That way you can be a little sharp when you go to the tables. Yeah, the deal with Crapless CRAPS on the come out, like I said, if 2, 3, 11, and 12 come out, those are your points. Now, a lot of people like playing that, but you're giving up the 11 on the come out, which is 5.56%. You're giving that up because 11 becomes the point and not you win on the pass line like regular craps. So you got 16.67% in the beginning to throw 7s to win, and you're losing 5.56% on the come out. A lot of people don't even know that or don't understand that, but when the 11 becomes the point, 3 or 11 becomes the point, it'll pay 3 to 1. So in other words, if you make, I don't know, some of the tables are not even $5 no more. Say you put $10. If you find there's $10. You gotta look for them. $10 table. You put $10 in the pass line. It's a flat bet. No matter how much money you put there, it's always a flat bet. 100's 100, 500's 500. So if you put $10 in the pass line and it says it pays 3 to 1. So if you put $10 in the back on 3 and 11, you get $30 for your $10. So you make your money on the odds. They call free odds. It's not free. It came out of your pocket. The casino likes to call you it's free odds. What they mean by that is they have no advantage on the payout. That's all they got is no advantage on the payout because they're going to pay you true odds. But where they do have an advantage, and I tell everybody, I even tell it in my book, I tell you they do have an advantage on that bet because of the numbers. 6 and 8 come up the most, which is 5 to 6. Or 6 to 5, and then the 5 and 9 come up 3 to 2, which in the casino's favor, and then the 4 and 10 comes up 6 to 3 or 2 to 1. So the casino, if you had a 4 and 10, the casinos have the advantage not on the payout, but paying you if you win, which is 6 ways for them to win, only 3 for you. That's their advantage, and they only want to tell you half. They tell you, oh, we have no advantage. It's free odds. Free odds what? It's not free. It came out of my pocket. If 7 comes out, I lose my free odds. So some of the dealers do it. Very rarely have I heard dealers explain that. And they don't. They only tell you, we have no advantage on your odds. You're free. They love to call it free odds. It's not free. Free odds bet. Yeah, on the payout, but not to come up. The casino still has that advantage, especially on 4 and 10. The further out, the harder it is to come up. 4 and 10, then 5 and 9, and then 6 and 8. And you should always at least try to take full odds. Like on the 3 and 11 is 3 to 1, but that is that house edge on a normal crap table is 1.41%. By having these four numbers, the 3, 11, and 12, by having those four extra numbers, the casino ends up, instead of 1.41%, it becomes 2.93%. So for every $100 in the long run, they're collecting, instead of $1.41, they're collecting $2.93. So, but if you can find a table, I mean, God, if you could find a table, I did find it one time where the guy actually shot for 15 minutes, and I made a bunch of money really fast because I was taking 2, 3, 11, and 12. So if you're going to play crapless craps, to take those numbers, then play it. If you're not interested in taking 2, 3, 11, and 12, don't even play it because the house edge is a lot higher for them. And then you don't get the 11 on the come out. So they're cutting that out too. Yeah, and then I wrote some little notes here because I want to make sure I don't forget some of these percentages because I don't really follow these percentages. I know they're higher. It depends what bet you're making. Now, Vegas World, if anybody remembers Vegas World, I was there years ago when they were adding something on the top, and I have actually some brand new book matches from Vegas World, and then Stratosphere. Those casinos are one of the first ones that had Crapless Craps here in Nevada. Now, I think Stratosphere still has it. The old Hilton, which is Westgate, has it, and then what's the other one? The Castle, Excalibur has it. They have Crapless Craps. It's a great game. If you're going to take those numbers, it's a little more expensive. The reason why, because if you're going to play Crapless Craps, take them. Take 2, 3, 11, and 12 as they're up on the top. They're called board numbers. I call them board numbers. Your board numbers on the top, and then you have to take 6 and 8. So it's more expensive to play Crapless Craps, even if it's a $10 table. You're already playing, what is that, $60 just for that, and then your pass line and odds. So you're already looking at $80, and you hope 7, which is the highest percentage on a set of dice. You hope that don't come out. But if you can catch a shooter, watch how much money you make, especially if somebody keeps throwing 2, 3, 11, and 12. They keep throwing that, you're going to make some really big money. Now, you're placing those numbers. Those are not the ones that paid 3 to 1 and 6 to 1 because those are board odds and you're choosing them. So, like I said, let me see, the 3 and 11 pay 11 to 2. That's what it pays, $11 to your $2. And then 2 and 12 pay 11 to 4. So they pay for every $4 you could get paid 11. So that's on the pass line and odds, but the board odds, that's what I said. They pay 11 to 2 and 11 to 4. But if you play Crapless Craps, trust me, if you get on a table and somebody shoot, man, I was hoping to get a shooter to shoot for, man, even, I'd say, I'm gonna go a little bigger here, at least 40 minutes, which would be great on a crap table, but you have to be taking these numbers. And if the number becomes 3, 11, 2, 3, 11, and 12 as a point, you make some really good money. So you got to take your odds. So that's a real good thing to do if you're going to play Crapless Craps. If you're not, like I said, if you're not going to, you don't care to play 2, 3, 11, and 12, you don't want to, don't play Crapless Craps because the house edge is higher. You're better off on a regular table. And then you get 11 on the come out. Okay, let's see what I got here. Oh, yeah, like I said, there was no dome pass. Let me see, it gives up, yeah, you're giving up 5.56% on the 11. And let me see, 2, 3, 11, 12. Yeah, that's, when you have those numbers, it's 5.38% that the house has by adding those four numbers and not 1.41%. Okay, I hope I got that right because it's a little confusing with house edge is on a total of playing craps. with playing crapless craps, 2.93% versus 5.38% when 2, 3, 11, and 12 becomes the point because they're harder to come up. You're looking at 8.34% versus 16.6%. So you're looking at you're probably looking a little more than 2 to 1. So it's 2 to 1 that the casino, you're not going to hit those numbers, 2, 3, 11, and 12. It doesn't mean you're not going to hit them. I'm just letting you know it's a little more than 2 to 1 that you're not going to hit them. So by playing crapless craps, people think, oh, there's no don't pass, there's no DC, which is a come bet for the don't. And they're thinking, I don't have to worry about that. It doesn't matter. Once you get a 0.7, you're out. So these are things that you have to know when you play crapless craps. Now, when let me see here, on a pass line on a regular crap table, say $10, and then you take $10 in the back for odds. It goes from 1.41%. Once you take $10 in the back for free odds, it drops down to 0.84%. And then double odds drops down to 0.64%. And then full double odds, which is on 6 and 8. Now, this is a regular crap table. The house edge drops all the way down to 0.57%. So the more odds you take, the lower the house edge becomes. How do I say that? The house edge, the casino makes less money, but that has nothing to do with you hitting the point. It has nothing to do with that. But the more money you put in the back, the house makes less money because you keep winning. If you keep winning, you're bucking their house edge. But it has nothing to do with you throwing the point or hitting a point or whatever bet you're making. It has nothing to do with that. You can go to some of my episodes on Delatory 360 Entertainment and look up CRAPS, and I do have all the titles, percentage ratios, odds, and it explains everything. That way you can go to exactly that. But these odds on crapless craps, since they're a little bit higher, it is for adding single odds in the back, instead of 0.84%, it's 2.93% that the casino makes because they actually added these points. And then if you take double odds, it's 2.0%. So it's $2 in the long run. And then 3 times is 1.53%. Now you see the house edge is dropping. And then 5 times odds is 1.04%. And you can see how many odds you have to take in the back to make the odds come almost equal to a normal crap table, which is 1.41%. You have to take full odds, which is, let me see, 345. Anybody knows about craps? Regular table 345, or some casinos have 5 times, 2 times bet, 5 times bet, 10 times. If you see a table that says 10 time odds, that don't mean they're going to pay you 10 times. You have to make the bet to get paid 10 times. So you can go to my Delatory 360 Entertainment and you can see, I'll explain the whole thing to you. Let me see. Well, supposedly, hopefully we get, I don't know, Brett. Everybody's probably saying, yeah, whatever. He's supposed to be here at 6:30. Let me see what else I got there on crap ass list. The payout. Yeah, I got the payout and the house edge. The payout for 2 and oh yeah, we did that. 11 and 2 and 11 and 4 for 3 and 11. And the house edge on 2 and 12, that thing jumps up to 7.14%. 7.14%. That's a lot. And then the 3 and 11 is 6.25%. So you can see how much money the house is making by having crapless craps. They're actually benefiting by having crapless craps. That's why a lot of casinos are starting to have crapless craps at their casinos, because they're added 2, 3, 11, and 12, which are hard numbers to come up, which is 2 and 12 or 2.78%, and 3 and 11 or 5.56%. So it's better for them to have it. The only way you're going to really benefit by playing Crapless Craps is finding a table you hopefully that are people are hitting the, which on a normal table would be a horn bet, and that's 2, 3, 11, and 12 on a horn bet. You're hoping somebody keeps hitting those numbers, because that's, you watch how much money you rack up really fast. If you catch somebody throwing 2, 3, 11, and 12, and they're just pounding that, and you're taking odds, or you're taking the board, you're playing the board odds. Those are board. I call them board odds. They're not true odds. They're board odds. You get odds on that too. They're board odds. You'll make a ton of money really fast, especially if you're playing 2 and 12. If you're playing 2 and 12, it pays 6 to 1 in the back. So can you imagine putting, I'm just going to say $100, you get $600. So just you do the math. $50, you get $300. You can make money really fast playing Crapless Craps if you can find a shooter that's shooting and they continue to shoot. Now, the other thing about that, like I said, if you're going to play that Crapless Craps, you need to take 6 and 8. You have to take 6 and 8. They're the most powerful two numbers on the table besides 7. So, no, man, don't tell me that's Brett. So when that's why it's a little expensive to play that. Let me see. Nope. So, but yeah, send another picture. My daughter's in Canada. Her husband on her for a job. But I was playing downtown. I was talking to a buddy of mine. We were down to the Golden Gate about 4 years ago when it was called the Vegas Club, and we were talking about this whole thing about right now there's a table that's probably on fire, but we don't know where it's at. We just don't know. You just don't know. And after we started gabbing, I was the one gabbing for some odd reason, huh, Aaron? So what happened was we went downstairs and said, let's go over here to the Vegas Club, because I really I did play there a couple of times because they did that movie. What was it called? Victor Mature, and what's that girl's name? I can't remember. It was beautiful. She died. She was with Marilyn Monroe. She was the buddy of Marilyn Monroe, and he was in that, and a couple other actors. Oh, Vincent Price. It was a very good movie. I think it was called Vegas something. Anyway, you could just look it up. But they filmed in there. They filmed in there, and the Pioneer, when the Pioneer was open. And I remember when the car was leaving, I was looking at the wall on the side. It was an alley, and I was looking at the electrical panel and the tubes. And when I went back to look at that spot, the alley was there, but the electrical was a little different. But they actually came out of there because at that time you could drive cars. Let me see. God, what was that girl's name? She was in that movie with Victor Mature. And they do show the Golden Gate, Savoy. I think it was called Savoy. Anyway, it was a really interesting movie because you could see all what Vegas was like back then. All the old, the Boulder Club was there. The Apache. I think there was one called the Monte Carlo. These were all downtown. The Mermaid, the Bayou. These all were there. They're all gone now. Let me see what I got. 24. Let me see. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I kind of get off here. Me and my buddy went down. Dave. We went downstairs, and that's one of that crap table, Crapless Craps on the Vegas Club, which is not there no more. That table was pretty hot because I asked the guy. I know these people are not. I know they weren't educated. I just know they just don't have the education I have because they had a bunch of chips. And I go, how'd they get those chips? I doubt very much if they understand money management and how to press pull. And you'll see that in my book too. Press pull, press pull. Always get your original investment back first before you do anything. And I asked the guy, I said, hey, man, what's going on? He said, oh, man, that lady's on fire. I go, God, I got to hear this. How long you been shooting? He goes, I don't know, 40 minutes. Oh, my God. I go, you got to be kidding me. If I would have had just $100 with my knowledge, which is in the book, $100 in 40 minutes, I probably would have made somewhere around maybe, I'd say about $4,000, about 4,000 probably, because it was Crapless crafts, and I would have been taking 2, 3, 11, and 12, and then I would have been taking probably full odds. So you can rack up money really fast. But that time, at that time was the only time that I found somebody shot that long. When I was at Excalibur, that's the name of the other one that has Crapless crafts. When I was at Excalibur, we caught a little run. And I think I don't know what I made. I bought in for, I think it was only $200 because I was kind of screwing around with, because I know it's because I was playing 2, 3, 11, 12, 6, and 8, and then I was taking pass line and odds. So I was playing something like $120, $130 a shot. So I was betting the minimum, and this guy got a little run. I think I made like $600. He got on a small run, and they were throwing. They were throwing 3, 2, and 12, and that's where I made most of my money. So if you want to play Craps, I'm just telling you what you should play. 2, 3, 6, and 8, 11, and 12, pass line and odds. It's a little expensive. If you catch somebody on a run, you're going to make some really good money really fast. And don't forget, anytime whatever you buy in at, 100, 200, 300, 500, whatever you buy in at, always get your original investment back first. Once you get your original investment back, which mine is $44, once I get that back, I'll take a couple, and then maybe I'll start pressing 6 and 8. If I keep hitting numbers, I'll put a little bit more money in the pass line, and then I'll take more odds. But you always got to get your original investment back first. That's how you survive. Don't be like these people. They're playing $100 a shot. You know, the chips are all over, and then they make a little bit of money, and then they 7 out. Well, when they 7 out, their original investment, they got to get that back. So if they are ahead, when you get a new shooter, every shooter on a crap table, no matter Crapless or Craps, every shooter is a session. You have to beat that session. So every time somebody comes up, revert back to the beginning. Like I told you in a couple of my other episodes, when I got up to black, I finally got up to black. I started red, went to green, went to black, and I made some really good money. I can't remember how much it was that day. It probably was $3,000 or something. Everybody, when the new shooter came, that session was over. I beat that session. Now, a new session, this is where people make the mistake. When there's a new person shooting, just because that table was somebody shot for 20 minutes or a half hour or 40 minutes, this is a different person. This is not the same person. That's a different session. You know what you do? You were playing black, revert back to the beginning. If it's a $10 table, go back to $10. $10 here, 10, 10, 10. Don't go to 100, 100, 100 like they were doing. I was the only one at the table that went back to my original basic bet, which was $10. It was a $10 table, and started placing my bets as $10. Everybody was betting black. And one of the dealer goes, hey, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean what am I already know what he was asking me. He said, why aren't you betting black? I says, why? I says, this is a different shooter. This is a new session. Trust me, it's in the book. That's all I told him. It's in the book. Don't worry about it. And then I hit one number. It was the number was 8. So the guy threw the dice and he hit a 6. I won for $12. I won 14, right? And he was giving everybody 120 or whatever they had, 240 up there. And he goes, you see, look at you won $14. I go, that has nothing to do with anything. Just deal the game. Trust me. Guess what happened next roll? 7 out. I actually invested $44 and got back 14 of that, and everybody I lost. What was that, $28? Let's see, was that 44? Was that 34, 30? I don't know how many. Something like $30. Anyway, I lost $30. Everybody else lost. I think it was like $500 to $600 because they were playing black. You need to revert back to the beginning. when a new person is shooting, that's a new session. You have to beat that session. So go revert back to the beginning. If it's a $10 table, $15 table, you got to go back to that. This is a different shooter. And I've seen people go from 7 out, 7 out, 7 out, 7 out. So a lot of those people stayed there and they lost more than half the money they won on that one shooter. You know what I did? After that guy 7 out, I played one more guy and a different session, went back to $10. I think he threw 3 rolls and he's 7 out. You know what I did? I go color coming in. I said, I'm out of here. And a lot of people just stayed there. They were chasing their profits. So worst thing to do, chase your profits. Okay, I'm going to get off here. We're going to go to a commercial. We're going to show my commercial, and they're going to have Brett's. Like I said, Full Tilt Vegas is now going every 2 weeks. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't think I'm going to come on back on the end. I don't know yet. At the end of the show. So Aaron is going to run both those commercials. I guess I'll see. If I don't come back on, I guess I'll see you in 2 weeks. Like it or much. Smash that like button. Hi, my name is Richard Delatorre. I'm the author of It's in the Book, Winning Ways. It's on Blackjack, Craps, and Roulette. And you can get it on Amazon, Google Play. You can get it on Barnes & Noble. And it teaches you the ratios and percentages of the casino, because the casino is really in charge. I put the percentages and ratios in your favor. You spend a little bit more money, but you have a better chance of winning. Doesn't mean you're going to win. No book should ever say you guarantee you're going to win. But what I did do is I cut down the ratios and percentages so you fully understand them on these 3 games. So you can go ahead and get that book. I was one of the top selling books on Amazon 2018. I was number 7. I was with Doyle Brunson, Negreanu, The Magician, John Patrick, so I was pretty good for my first book. So you can go ahead and get that book and pretty much read it till you pretty much got it memorized. And you should be walking to casinos pretty much as an expert on these 3 games. The platform here is Go Live Vegas Studios, and my show is called Full Tilt Vegas, 6 p.m. Saturday night. I do have guests. Brett Lawson is a sports analyst. He comes on after me. Sometimes we double up. He does it on all the sports, and you can go ahead and see that. And I'll see you next Saturday or every Saturday at 6 p.m. on Full Tilt Vegas. Thank you very much.
Go Live Vegas Studios, a unique multi-camera social media virtual content creators paradise. We offer high-end services using live streaming and film production for your personal or corporate, commercial or event and campaign needs. Pre-record or live stream to your audience on multiple social media platforms simultaneously. Fun and interactive with social media comments, phone lines, live remotes, audio Foley sounds, and Snapchat filters. Be creative, get recognized, and make money. We help you by providing an all in-house production team. Visit our website at golive.vegas.
What's going on, everybody? Brett Lawson here, co-host of Full Tilt Vegas and local sports analyst. Just a quick heads up, moving forward, I will be a regular part of the show where my segment, the back end of the show, will focus on everything in the world of sports gambling. You will still have Richard's insights and expertise and everything from his book, Winning Ways, in the first part of the show, where he will dabble with table games and overall floor-related gambling, where my part of the show will focus on analyzing matchups, odds, totals, money lines, spreads, props, overall gambling, psychology, and philosophy, and just the things you need to know if you want to become a sports bettor, or if you already are a sports bettor and want to sharpen your skills in that racket. So stick around. Moving forward, you will have both ends of the spectrum in the world of gambling with Richard and myself moving forward on Full Tilt Vegas. All right, thank you, Richard. And for those tuning in, no, your eyes are not deceiving you. So much so the shot has to be adjusted. That's how you know I've been gone for long enough. But Brett Lawson here, back in action after a very, very long hiatus, here to break down everything in the world of sports. And after what seemed like a very, very long drought period in the world of sports, we are back in action, both in terms of just not just the betting side of things, but in just the general day-to-day news cycle as well. Football, not even on the horizon at this point. It's right here in our very faces, right here in the grill. Preseason just about wrapped up now. You have college football officially underway as of today. The big games start next week, which is what we're going to look at here over the next couple of minutes. But again, as of right now, college football action is off and running. NFL action gets down September 8th, the preseason. We've made it all the way through training camp, everything, all those storylines, competitions, new coaches, everything in that nature, high expectations along certain quarterbacks and certain teams that we'll get into as we get a little bit closer to the NFL. Again, we're very close as it is, but I want to take some time today to focus on college football. Again, it's off and running as of today, but next weekend, next Saturday is where we really get a full taste of what's going down. But before we do anything, we like to keep it on the betting side of things here first. So I want to look at that future market first. I've tapped into it at several points in the offseason. Again, it seems like forever ago when the college football season ended. I mean, it really was in a way. January in the sports world, 7-8 months, that's a long, long time in the world of sports. So looking at the world of college football, a lot has changed in the landscape. New coaches, that's got to be the biggest storyline. Obviously, the transfer portal, quarterbacks transferring because of those new coaches. We saw a lot of that with Lincoln Riley getting the hire at USC and that slew of transfers that came, including Heisman contender Caleb Williams. We saw what he did last year at the helm for Oklahoma. A lot of expectations with USC. A lot of expectations with Mario Cristobal, a former Miami Hurricane player. Can he rebuild the culture there in Coral Gables? So many question marks and even concern surrounding some big name programs, some blue blood programs, and a lot of those questions will be answered in the coming weeks. But again, last time we checked in on college football, it was the immediate aftermath of the national championship, that big Georgia victory over Alabama. And when we checked into the future board, and that's what we're going to do right now really quick. So looking at, these are consensus lines, right? Alabama, the odds-on favorite as of right now to win the college football national championship as the plus 190 favorites. No surprise there given what they return. Heisman winner Bryce Young, Will Anderson, perhaps the best player in the nation. Their defensive end who is absolutely primed and ready to go, maybe to be the best player taken in the draft this year. Both him and Bryce Young, you can make the case, will have a strong argument in their own right if they do what they're supposed to do this year to be the number one pick taking overall in the 2023 draft. So no wonder there's no really big question mark of why Alabama is the favorite to win the national championship. Georgia, what they did last year was incredible, but you take a hit losing some of that defensive talent in the draft. Yes, Stetson Bennett is coming back, did a wonderful job managing things last year, probably will be able to do the same this year, just that much more experience, has that much more of that leadership and those big game moments now to hang on to his, put those notches onto his belt. And of course, with Bowers and some of those other weapons coming back, that offense should still be formidable. But even with some of those defensive pieces coming back, and even with the key tight end and some other offensive pieces coming back, this Georgia team still isn't quite the unit that we saw out of Athens last year. Again, they will be there ready to go to give Bama all that they can handle in the SEC, but no surprise why Georgia isn't poised, or at least on the Vegas side of things, looking at the books, they aren't positioned on the leaderboard right now. On the future board to be that national championship favorite. And honestly, looking at the competitive landscape, it's really not that surprising that they're not number 2 either. That honor goes to Ohio State coming in at plus 320. So you have Alabama at plus 190, Ohio State trailing them at plus 320, and then the Bulldogs at plus 350. It's a no-brainer. Those are your big three. Those are the big three programs as of right now. Georgia's kind of surpassed Clemson to be that third program in recent years. But then you have Clemson kind of poised for a bounce-back year. We saw Clemson, as we went down the stretch, kind of refine things a little bit. DJ Uiagalelei, we saw him do wonderful things in relief of Trevor Lawrence as a freshman. If he could show that version of himself again this year, along with that NFL talent they're going to have there out of Clemson, that paw print could be right back there in the conversation, not just in the ACC, but for the college football playoff, of course, with the way Dabo Swinney is able to recruit and the fact that Uiagalelei has so many starts under his belt at this point. It's rightful. Clemson has positioned rightfully, I think, as the fourth odds-on favorite to win the national championship. A little bit of a drop there. You go from Georgia to plus 350 to Clemson at 12-1, plus 1,200. But again, no surprise. Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama, based off what we saw last year, have kind of carved their mark in that competitive landscape of college football. Clemson has a little bit of a catching up to do period kind of in front of them if they want to get back in that conversation. Just goes to show what 1 year, what just the taddest bit of drop-off, the slightest slightest bit of drop-off can do to a college program. But again, with the recruits that Dabo Swinney brings in and now an experienced quarterback at the helm, this Clemson team was not as bad as what we saw last year. They stumbled out of the gate with a tough loss to Georgia, couldn't really get anything going, couldn't get the wheels rolling offensively. If their defense is able to stay aggressive, even without Brent Venables now, as he has taken the head job at Oklahoma, and we'll see the first year with him down in Norman. Even so, I expect this Clemson defense to be formidable as usual, just given the nature of the talent they have, and I think the offense kind of gets back into gear. Maybe not to the degree we saw with Deshaun Watson and with Trevor Lawrence, but I definitely think the version of Uiagalelei we saw in 2020, I think there's a good chance we'll see that version of this quarterback rather than the one that we saw last year who struggled immensely in 2021. So again, there you have it, your top 5. We could go a little deeper. You have USC. That's more the sexy, flashy pick. I get it. All the transfer that came over, I mentioned at the top of the segment. Caleb Williams, who was tremendous as a true freshman last year for Lincoln Riley's system in Oklahoma. He follows him out to Southern California. What is that offense going to look like in Los Angeles? Well, it's probably going to look pretty explosive, but let's pump the brakes a little bit on USC. They're still going to have to get kind of those, they're just going to have to, kind of like what I said with Clemson. It's so crucial to get the wheels rolling early. USC's going to really have to get the wheels rolling early. They have a cupcake in week 1 compared to much of the rest of the conference. So much of the Pac-12 has a brutal week 1 schedule, not so much for USC. So they could get the wheels rolling early, get their quarterback off to a hot start, get some of these flashy offensive pieces going, and next thing you know, USC could be in the conversation at least for a Pac-12 championship, and then who knows what follows. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't expect them to compete. Their win total is interesting. I'd play the over on. I think it's about 6.5, 7. I'd play the over on it, but at the same time, don't expect a 9-10 win season or even a 10 11 win type of season and a walk to the national or to the college football playoff. USC, I get it, with all the transfers, with the hire of Lincoln Riley. It's a program a lot of people want to see do well. It's a program that when they do well, college football generally is just better off. But let's pump the brakes just a little bit. I get why Vegas likes them behind Clemson as the 6 odds-on favorite on the future board. They're at plus 2,000 right now with Texas A&M, who all in all is probably a better team at 25-1. Right behind them, the reigning Big Ten champion Michigan Wolverines are at 50-1. So there you have it. Just looking at the landscape. I know I've used that word a lot, but again, that landscape is a little bit broader now. It's going to be trimmed down here as we go on week by week. But here we are with it right on our plate in front of us, getting ready to take a bite. We have to wait another week to see all these teams in action, but nonetheless, once we see them first right off the bat, we'll get a good idea. That was the case last year with Georgia Clemson. We saw what that Georgia defense was able to do to Clemson week 1. They punched him in the mouth last year, week 1. Something similar very likely could happen coming up this week. Let's look at that week 1 slate really quick while we have a chance here. Looking at that Pac-12, it's brutal for the Pac-12. You have the reigning champs, Utah, taking on the Florida Gators. Now, Utah, on paper, is probably the better team, but going to the Swamp, week 1, that's going to be a tough place to play. The Gators are fired up, a new regime there down in Gainesville. That is not going to be an easy game. You have, looking at the Pac-12, USC gets the cupcake out of all of them. They get Rice, so it's a great way for the Lincoln Riley era to be ushered in a strong fashion with a opponent that isn't exactly the Florida Gators or the Georgia Bulldogs if you're the Oregon Ducks. Oregon, we've seen last year or a couple years ago, had that big game against Auburn in week 1. This is something similar, but this Georgia team is a much tougher task. The reigning national champions, again, with a slew of defensive talent coming back. You still have some key pieces on offense. Don't let all the hype surrounding C.J. Stroud and Ohio State and Bryce Young and Will Anderson and Alabama distract you from the fact that this Bulldog team is going to be dangerous all season long. And even with those pieces missing those lost pieces to the draft, they're going to be able to reload the same way we have seen some great Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson teams reload in the past. That is what Georgia has now become. That is what Kirby Smart has now done in the SEC. He has solidified himself as an absolute landmark, not just in the conference, but in the entire conversation of college football. Georgia and Oregon's a big one. They're laying 17 in Athens against the Ducks. The Ducks, the reigning Georgia defensive coordinator, goes over to take over from Mario Cristobal. How do they fare without their coach who did so many great things for them in the past few years with recruiting and building a culture and a standard and a level of consistency. We saw Oregon constantly competing for Pac-12 championships, for big bowl games. Can they continue that with this new regime now that Cristobal is no longer there? If they do, they're going to, at the very least, they are going to want to look strong against Georgia in what is going to be a huge game for not just the Ducks, but the entire Pac-12 conference. Some even say it is the biggest game in the history of the Pac-12 conference, especially given all this recent conversation. In recent weeks, even months, the main topic of college football, the main conversational topic has been this potential conference realignment, the expansion, the shrinkage, the fracturing of the sport. These are all real threats to the game right now, and along with other conversations that have been going on the past few years, such as the NIL that we've now seen come to fruition, and of course the possible expansion of the college football playoff. But you have teams, Pac-12 blue bloods, traditional Pac-12 programs going over to the Big Ten. You have Big 12 teams going over to the SEC, as we talked about on the show when that news first broke last winter rather. So there's these type of storylines that are going to continue to unfold, even though their current spots, their current homes haven't necessarily shifted yet. But in college football, you're always looking towards the future. You're always looking towards the next big element of shakeup, if you will, and this could be just that. The Pac-12 conference could very well shrink, could very well evaporate in front of our very own eyes here in the next few years if this realignment and these bigger conferences start to expand more and more, and that power vacuum continues to get, let's just say, a little unmitigated. Right? So if that continues to grow, who knows what happens to the Pac-12? I'm not being hyperbolic here. So a big showing against the reigning national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs, for the Ducks would be big. In recent years, the Pac-12 hasn't even really looked like a Power 5 conference. You've had the American who's kind of laid more of a claim to be a Power 5 conference in recent years in the Pac-12. If the Pac-12 wants to stay in that conversation, they need to have a strong week one. And Utah can do it against Florida on the road, and Oregon, even though that's going to be a much tougher task than what Utah has. If Oregon doesn't fold, and if Oregon stands strong and just is able, whether it be from a physical standpoint, from a scoreboard standpoint, a speed and athleticism standpoint, if the eye test sells it enough to where Oregon looks the part, even with Cristobal gone, that will be big for the Pac-12 conference, especially given in recent years so much of the discussion surrounding that conference has been how it's weaker, how it's deteriorating, and how their top talent can't hang with the top talent of the SEC and the Big Ten. Well, now is the chance for the Pac-12 to do just that. And when you have a big prospects and recruits coming over along with Lincoln Riley over from the Big 12 to shake things up in Los Angeles, it just makes things that much more interesting. Again, we want to be somewhat objective here, and we want to be somewhat level-headed. We know the strength ultimately where it comes from right now in the country in terms of the programs. We know where the power programs are. But these things in college football, the seeds are often planted through things like this. So now this college football season, in addition to following the teams like I mentioned, the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Clemsons, we are also going to want to follow these storylines to see how they play out, because the ramifications surrounding them could not just lead to the way these programs look in the future. It could lead on an individual basis. It could lead to an entire shakeup of the sport as we know it, to the point where the college football, I guess you could say, structure, the power structure of college football is completely flipped upside down on its head. And in many ways, the early signs of that have already been shown. You know, there's a lot of opinions about NIL. There's a lot of opinions about expanding the playoffs. Pretty much anything surrounding college football is going to be polarizing. It's that type of emotional game. It's a game built on tradition. It's a game built on historical significance. It's a game built very much on things that resonate with people from that respective region. So any topic in college football is going to have a lot of debate, and it's going to have arguments on multiple sides from all angles. But the arguments, the strong arguments, and then the weaker ones, those get separated by what we see from the teams and the coaches each week in and out, every Saturday. So that's what's going to determine where these arguments that will kind of reshape the sport as we know it in the future, we will get that refined on a month-by-month basis here as the season goes on. So in a way, yes, I get it. Every college football season is drastically important. But at the same time, this one may just mean a little bit more given the immediate future of the sport. But again, a big week one. You look at let's look at some of the other AP 25 matchups that aren't in the Pac-12 or the SEC. You have, let's see, Michigan, again, reigning Big Ten champs. They take on Colorado State. Big favorites at the Big House, laying 27.5. A lot of dark horse talk surrounding NC State this year. Can they be the team? We saw what Kenny Pickett and Pittsburgh was able to do in the ACC last year on a down year for Clemson. If Clemson really isn't on this little 1 year, like a little 1 year rebuild mode, and they actually are on a bit of a slide, can it now be NC State and Dave Doran and that incredible job he's done in recent years? Can they lead the pack? Can the Wolf Pack lead the pack and hoist the ACC crown at season's end? The ACC is a very interesting conference right now. It went from being elite, very top-heavy, with the top-heavy being elite with Florida State and Clemson, to now being a who's who. That Pittsburgh team's not going to be as good without Kenny Pickett, and we don't know if this Clemson team still can look like the Clemson teams of past. We'll have a better idea next week. So again, NC State's going to be a fun one to watch. Miami against Bethune-Cookman. That's a matchup they want in week one to solidify, or not to solidify, but to officially start building that Cristobal era. Obviously, you could talk all you want of what they do in the camp, what they do in the spring game. None of it matters until you start week one on the game field. Miami has a chance to do that against Bethune-Cookman the same way USC has a chance to do that with a great opportunity in Rice. So again, Lincoln Riley, Mario Cristobal, these coaches can usher in a big moment for their culture and for their program moving forward. Marcus Freeman against Ohio State. He takes over for Brian Kelly now at LSU, defensive coordinator. That coaching hire was internal. They didn't go anywhere else. They brought someone up from their own program, and now he has a team that many people like to win the national championship. Ohio State and Notre Dame only play each other so often, and it's a big deal when they do. How is that team going to look with their defensive coordinator now in charge against the most explosive offense in college football? That'll be a fun one to watch as well. And then, of course, Clemson, I mentioned, Georgia Tech. We want to see the Tigers. They're on the road laying 21 points. We want to see the Tigers get off to a strong start if they are to be what we expect them to be. I've been a big Clemson proponent, a big Clemson backer in the betting sphere for a long time. I backed off them a little bit last year just because I was able to. I'm not saying I knew they would take a step down, but I did know that this Clemson team would be a lot harder to get. The 2021 Clemson team would be a lot harder to gauge, and that's why I was a little more hesitant to bet them. I actually want to be more aggressive in betting Clemson this year. Their win total's at 10.5, pretty much the same mark for all the teams in that top four. Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, and Ohio State all at 10.5 wins. I would bet the over for all of those. In fact, and if those four right there, when it's all said and done, would not surprise me if that was your final four for the college football playoff. So Clemson, obviously, until they start week one, a week from tonight, or just about a full week from tonight where we sit right now, it's all smoke and mirrors. But if they have a strong showing against Georgia Tech, obviously the Yellow Jackets haven't been a formidable program in quite some time. But if Clemson could get the ball rolling quick, show some nice things on offense, just watch. There'll be a lot of public action. There'll be a lot more media attention on Clemson, and the Tigers will once again enter that discussion, a discussion that surpassed them just a year ago, but for so many years prior to 2021 included them. I'm expecting a big bounce back in 2022 for Dabo Swinney and his Tigers. And just a heads up, Notre Dame ranked number 5th in the country. We knew how good they were last year, just barely missed the playoffs with Brian Kelly in his last couple of games. The Marcus Freeman, that actually was announced right at the end of the season, heading into the college football playoff, that Kelly was going to take off the Baton Rouge. So they got Marcus Freeman going early on. They got him going in the bowl game. He had a whole offseason, a whole spring and summer under his belt. That was a brilliant hire, I believe, by that program. Smart move to go internal as Kelly heads to the SEC. Going to be a lot of question marks surrounding LSU, no doubt. But I actually think Notre Dame will be a very consistent team this year. And they have a dog of a week one opponent in Ohio State. They're getting 17 points in the horseshoe. That's tough just because Ohio State, we know how they are at home, and we know how good this offense is with Heisman favorite C.J. Stroud. But again, with the Irish, formidable up front, they're physical, they have a lot of speed. I think Notre Dame is going to impress a lot of people in week 1 against Ohio State, especially early on. That game may get away from them late. Tough one to bet, though, especially with the 17 points. Vegas right on the money with that one. But again, a huge week 1 matchup going down. That's in the primetime slot next week on ABC to close out week 1. Again, this is kind of the unofficial week 1, but the big boys play next week. All these teams I've mentioned, they will be in action a week from tonight, and we will finally have a taste of the 2022 college football season. So, obviously, plenty to watch there. One thing I want to wrap up really quick before we get out of here. We talk so much about the strength of the teams, the coaches, the transfers, and all that. Let's talk about the Heisman front runners. You heard me mention key names like Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Will Anderson. We'll just look at that future board right now. C.J. Stroud, the quarterback for the Buckeyes, the odds-on favorite to hoist the Heisman Trophy at plus 200. Bryce Young, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, looking to become the first one to go back-to-back since Archie Griffin for Ohio State in the 70s. He could do it, especially with some of this offensive talent returning. Yes, like every year, Alabama has lost key talent to the draft, but what do? They do not rebuild. They reload. They should be fine. That's why Georgia and Clemson, I'm not jumping off of them either. They don't rebuild. They reload. Let's give these coaches some time to get these young talent, these young new faces, but still blue chip prospects. Keep that in mind. Let's give them some time to get them implemented into the system. Again, spring ball is great. Summer camp is great. It doesn't matter until fall gets going. So a lot of these moving pieces, these new faces, it's going to take a little bit of time, but once they find themselves solidified, you're going to see just why they are who they are, these programs, and why they can recruit the way they can recruit. So Bryce Young at plus 350, not even that far behind C.J. Stroud on that future board. I understand with given Ohio State's weapons, they lost some to the NFL, but they had a lot of young players who were able to get reps last year, who shined down the stretch, who were able to shine in the Rose Bowl against Utah. A lot of expectations surrounding that entire unit, not just C.J. Stroud, but leading the unit as a quarterback. It's no brainer. He leads the pack as the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, with Young right behind him. So the two big quarterbacks at 200 and a price of plus 350 respectively. That third quarterback, as I mentioned, coming over from Oklahoma to USC, Caleb Williams. He's 7-1 with Will Anderson Jr., the highest, the highest, I won't want to say ranked, the defensive player with the highest odds to win, I should say, on the board, and possibly the best player in all of college football. He's at plus 2,000. Great value for him, but again, we know it hasn't been since 1998, since Charles Woodson. I don't know if this is going to be the year to break that the streak either, even if Will Anderson proves to be what many expect him to be as the most dominant force in college football. That pass rusher is pro-ready as it is. Apparently, he's added on about 15 pounds of muscle. He's studying all the elite pass rushers in the NFL. Be ready for Will Anderson to have a dominant, scary type of year to where the Heisman's almost secondary. This guy's going to have the type of year where everyone's talking about him, whether he walks away with the hardware or not. And then you also have two key Texas players. Quinn Ewers transfers over from Ohio State, the backup. Obviously wasn't going to get much time behind Stroud, but he is now going to get the starting gig at Texas. Him coming over was a big deal as a Texas native. He's now a Longhorn. He's at 28-1. Some decent value there for the newcomer. We'll see how Texas looks in year 2 under Steve Sarkisian. Also, Bijan Robinson at plus 2,000. Their running back on the board to win the Heisman. So look out for that Texas backfield. Could have a lot of points scored out of Austin this year. The defense is going to be shaky, and I still think it's a long way until the Longhorns are officially back. It seems like it's been a decade plus since we've been asking when they will be back, but at least I think we'll see some points out of Austin this year. And then DJ Uiagalelei at 25-1. I don't think he'll have the type of year Young or Stroud have, but again, I think that Clemson quarterback is going to really remind us why he was such a blue-chip prospect coming out of high school, why he was such a big commodity as a true freshman, and why him being taking a step back last year was so surprising. We know the expectations, we know the talent, and I think we'll see it next week. College football's upon us, people. A week remaining. It's going to be fun, and with NFL right behind it, and we'll be right here on Go Live Vegas to break it all down. So for Richard, for Aaron behind the boards, this has been an honor to be back with y'all. We'll catch you in 2 weeks' time when we break down the NFL slate right here on Full Tilt Vegas. Football season is here.